I'm so excited to have Fatimah Fakhoury here with us today on New Mobility Live. Fatimah is a registered dietitian that focuses on specializes in nutrition and bowel health for people living with paralysis and spinal cord injury. She is the author of the Paralysis Nutrition Cookbook and the host of the Paralysis Nutrition podcast. So to start off, Fatimah, I'd love for you to tell us how you became a dietitian that specializes in nutrition for people with spinal cord injuries.
Yeah, so funny you ask, because there is no such thing as like specializing or getting a advanced certificate in, anything related to spinal cord injury or paralysis. There's different certifications that we can get, like there's obesity training, there's, tube feeding, there's sports nutrition, there's all these diabetes education. There's so many things that you can go and get even further advanced training in as a dietitian, and paralysis and spinal cord injury is not one of them. So how did I get into it is because my husband is a quadriplegic. And so when I met him, I was in graduate school to become a registered dietitian. I was in my master's program studying clinical nutrition, and I met my husband who was a quad, and I was like, I was a student. So it was interesting to me, and I'm like, oh, they don't teach us anything about how to help you with anything. And so we have been married now for 9 years. We have 2 little kids. He's, 10 years older than when I first met him. And so things change, right? And nutrition is so powerful, of course, for overall health and longevity. And I'm always talking about, eating right can literally make you happier, right? It can literally make your life easier, especially as a wheelchair user when it comes to bowels and weight loss, which are the 2 main things that I work with people on. I mean, we talk about a lot of different things, but when it comes down to it, it's like the programs have come down to bowel health and weight loss.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big things. So when I met my husband, I was in graduate school, and I just became interested in like, oh, you have slow gut motility. Like, what is that? They don't teach you about that.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go to rehab, if you have a spinal cord injury and you go to rehab, the dietitians that are there is no like special training. Like they're here, they're telling you what their predecessors have told them. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens. There is no like real education about this. So it's really been a journey. They say imposter syndrome, like, people get imposter syndrome when they're, supposed to be an expert. I always cringe when people will be like, oh, she's like, you were doing my intro. And I just was like, oh, that's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it really just started off, Teal, as like, I'm a dietitian. My husband's a quad. There's nobody like on social media talking to people who are wheelchair users, period. Yeah. There really wasn't at that time. This was like, I'm in like year 3 of paralysis nutrition. And so when I started, it was just like general nutrition / my husband is a quad, I get it. And then it turned into people asking specifically, like, hey, how many calories do I need because I'm paraplegic? Or, hey, what should I eat because I'm pooping twice a week, or whatever it is. And so it's been a journey. And really what I've learned is that the basics are so overlooked, right? Yeah. And the lack of just knowledge at all is just, I think that's the biggest thing. And people are always looking for the next superfood or the next super supplement when it's doesn't really, that's not what makes or breaks your health. What really is going to make the biggest impact is what you do every day, right? Yeah. So I talk a lot about eating breakfast, getting your protein, eating fiber, planning ahead, right? Even if it is to plan ahead and say, Friday night, I'm going to order takeout. That's planning,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just sort of working backwards from whatever your goals are to what you need to do in order to get there.
Yeah, that's what I love about kind of your approach to nutrition. For me, I've been paralyzed for over 25 years, and especially I was injured when I was 14. So especially even when I was younger, navigating health and nutrition is so tricky. I found myself on, one fad diet after another, which always just is unsustainable and left me feeling like deprived and stressed about food. And what I love about you is, like, I was listening to one of your episodes of your podcast yesterday, and you say outright, like, I don't believe in diets. This is my program. It's not a diet.
No,
So I love your approach about, like, how, like, it's not about you can't eat this, you can't eat this.
no.
It's about, like, what maybe you should be eating more of, like, what should you be adding and doing more of, which,
It's
yeah,
really about adequacy, you know,
yeah,
like rather than if I told you, Teal, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you're not going to be in a positive place. If I'm going to
mm-hmm,
say, okay, give me a typical, 3-day pattern of what you eat, and then we can go in there and say, okay, well, here was a opportunity for more protein. Here was an opportunity to, whatever. Looking at it that way is so much more helpful, and I have to say too, I appreciate you bringing up like the diet thing, because so many people who have come to me, mostly in the coaching program, because that's like the weight loss program, they are traumatized by dieting. I have people who have done keto, who have done fasting, who have done like cleanses. It's just so many different diets, and none of them are designed for someone who has neurogenic bowel.
mm-hmm,
None of them are designed for people who are full-time wheelchair users. And, I think diets are just coming from a place of scarcity, right? Like you can't have. And what's human nature? When you can't have, you want it more.
yeah, that's what you
And
think about 24/7. Like, I can't have that piece of cake, and now I'm gonna, like, obsess about it.
right.
And where I should have just, like, had, enjoyed it, and, gone on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I 100% agree with you. And I think even like the less, extreme diets like Weight Watchers, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of, especially women who've done Weight Watchers, and the focus is on the scale.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work for my
No.
clients. It doesn't work for, they don't have a scale. I mean, very few do have a scale, like a roll-on scale, or maybe they go to like physical therapy and they can get weighed every month. But that's not actually telling you about fat loss.
Yeah.
If you are losing pounds, and especially if you're not eating enough and you have paralysis, you are just losing muscle. Like you are just losing muscle. And so that's why I say, you should take measurements, because if you're losing inches, that's fat loss. And it may not look like that on the scale, because things fluctuate. Fluid, especially like my husband is a quad, I know he doesn't put his feet up as much as he should. And I know that that's a few pounds of fluid in there. So
Yeah.
things really fluctuate. And I think it's really important to, I call it the basics, but my husband will always say, like, that's not basic. Like eating a gut healthy diet is not basic. He's like, you should stop saying it's the basics. I'm like, but it is the basics.
It is the basics,
To
but
me,
our
it's
society has, like, set it up to where it's not. Like, you go to the grocery store, all the, the processed sugar, that's the
right.
easy access. Like, it's like all the good stuff is hidden, and it take,
Yeah.
so it is crazy how it's like we have to, like, learn, or, to get back, like you said, to basics.
Two basics, but also know
Yeah.
that when you have paralysis, that your needs are going to be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you can't go on a low carb diet if you have neurogenic bowel. Like you're not going to be able to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about prioritizing what is important to you. Like if I told you, you know, what are your top 3 complaints? Most people, it will be like constipation, bloating, and my weight. And it's usually about in that order. It's like the bloating and constipation are sort of interchangeable, and then it's the weight. So I always say, like, you cannot start really losing weight in a healthy, sustainable way if you have an unhealthy gut, right?
Yeah.
And I actually was doing a lot of research and things like that this year with the microbiome, right? The gut microbiome and your good bacteria, your bad bacteria, you know, how all this relates, not just to your bowels, but to weight loss. You can't have, you know, a fast metabolism or a on-track metabolism if you have an unhealthy gut. So I know weight loss is sexy and people want to lose weight and they want to lose inches, but I really have to say, I think the game changer for people is getting their bowels on track, you know, and losing literally inches and pounds just from that, right?
Yeah.
Getting what I call basics down before we start going into the higher level stuff, like the macro counting, like the supplements, like the, you know, the higher level stuff. So I would say for anybody who is watching us, if you want to like take that first step, the first step is going to be like eating real food, right? We live in the days of like DoorDash. Delete DoorDash. You know, if you're that type of person who's just like not eating at home, right? Pretty much anything that you put together yourself is going to be healthier, right, than something that you order. And like this to me is the basics, but it's really, I guess, not, right? Because we forget, or we don't know, or we feel confused, you know?
Yeah. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your coaching and if you have any programs coming up. I think I saw on your Instagram you have a free webinar tomorrow. Yeah. Tell us about
tomorrow, and I will send you the link if you want to like put it on your story. So tomorrow I am doing a free training on, it's called 3 Ways to Shorten Your Bowel Program. So over the years, I have heard everything from it takes me 90 minutes to it takes me 4 hours. I go once a week. I go twice a week. Like I have heard it all. Miralax every day for 20 years, 6-8 Senna. I've heard it all. So that stuff is not designed for long-term use. It's not, read the label. And it's also not, none of it is designed for neurogenic bowel. It's what we have. It's what they tell you at rehab. It's what your doctors are trained in. That's what they're going to tell you to use. But food first. I follow a food first approach. I'm not saying get off of that stuff. I'm saying, is it working? Is it working? Do you have an amazing bowel program from taking all that stuff? I don't know. So far, I haven't heard anyone say that. So I have this webinar tomorrow. It is free to register. And if you cannot make it at the time, it's okay, but you have to register and we'll send you a replay of it. So yeah, it's going to be tomorrow. It's a Zoom where you can join from your phone. You can join from your wherever, wherever you're watching your screens these days. And I'll send you guys the link.
Great.
To register.
Perfect. And then I know somebody had asked, where can they register or find more information?
So right now I'm enrolling in Poop Easy with Paralysis. I'm not enrolling in 3-month coaching. It's full for now, but I am going to be having a couple of spots / my kids will be in camp, so I'll have more time. To family first, I always say.
Yeah.
I always say, if I'm running a program and you want it, just do it, because I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so they always will come first. And so I'm running the Poop Easy program. That is, if you go to my page, it's the link in my bio. That is the culmination of like 3 years of learning about hundreds of people's bowel issues and their habits and what we can do. So it's an online course, and I also have a Facebook group. For the first 6 weeks of the program, you can ask me questions. It comes with meal plans, there's video trainings. It's really about improving your gut health so that you have an easier, more productive, faster bowel program. People really always complain about the belly and wanting to, you know, shrink their belly. And I think most people are going about it the wrong way. They think that it's fat. They think that it's, you know, from eating too much, and it's usually bowel related. I don't remember off the top of my head how many feet the intestines are, but it's a lot of feet.
Yeah,
And
it
if
is.
you're going once or twice a week, and even if you're going 4 times a week, but you're not feeling like you're done when you go, that's like a common thing that I hear is that I go, but it's not that much. That's constipation.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself can make you feel really bloated and uncomfortable. So that's the Poop Easy program that is starting on Monday, actually. But you can find information. I have a whole page, and it's at the link in my bio. The free webinar is just a link to register for the free webinar, and it's tomorrow.
Great. We'll share that on our stories. So before we wrap up, can you just share like one tip or piece of advice for those of us out here watching that are wheelchair users, spinal cord, have a spinal cord injury? I know it's just not a one thing.
No, I'm going to think of something really good.
Because you're so good at, you know, everybody watching, follow Fatimah on her Instagram, paralysis.nutrition, because you post every day.
I do.
Tips, all the things. So like, what's a good tip for today?
For just like overall health?
Anything. Yeah.
I would say start paying attention. Start paying attention, because I do get some clients that are like really into healthy eating and there's something off. It's just something that needs a little adjusting. Like maybe they're not eating enough. Maybe they're cutting out food groups, you know, but that's really like the minority of people.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people, I make fun of my husband all the time because I'm like, all my clients are just like you. Like they're just like you. And that's, they work, they're busy, they're intelligent, they think they know what healthy eating is, and they do know, but they're not doing it. Mm-hmm. They're not doing it because they're not paying attention. So if I don't make an effort, I don't eat breakfast. If I don't make an effort, I work through lunch, right? If I don't make an effort, come 5:30 p.m., my husband will just look at me and be like, you want to order a pizza? This is what happens. And we have to sort of normalize that just because you eat food doesn't mean that you know about nutrition. Okay. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, oh, I don't know what to eat. Join the club. Like no one knows unless you're told, right? For your life stage, for your activity level, for your lifestyle, it's going to be different, right? For everyone. So my number one thing is to start paying attention. I have a dietitian myself. She specializes in like autoimmune because I have an autoimmune disease, and she works with women, and she tells me stuff that I don't know because I'm in the weight loss, bowel health world, which is the opposite of what I need. Not opposite, but it's very different than what I need to be focusing on, right? Like for my own specific things. So paying attention, like I haven't done my own food journal. I'll track my meals here and there, but I haven't done like a full food journal and presented it to someone in a really long time. And it's very eye-opening because I was honest. I mean, I'm paying her, right? So I'm being very honest. I'm not just lying and saying eggs and toast, and I'm not lying.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay. I did this like a year ago. I still work with her in like a maintenance mode. I don't see her as often, but it's really interesting when you ask people to start paying attention, where they're like, oh, I don't really eat much fiber at all, or I eat vegetables once a day, or I eat way too many carbs. I drink way too much coffee. Yeah. I don't drink enough water. But if you were to ask them this prior to keeping track, they'd be like, oh yeah, I eat pretty healthy. I mean, define healthy. How many grams of protein did you eat today? Yeah. How many, liters of water did you drink today? So we need to get real specific.
Yeah. We
need to get real specific. So start paying attention. If you've never tracked before, everyone's on the iPhone, right? Like, or whatever, smartphone, download the app. It's free, like MyFitnessPal or Lose It or whatever. You don't have to be perfect. just start tracking approximately what you eat. Approximately will give you a whole story. And then even if those target numbers are wrong, I mean, there's no way that you are eating as well as you think you are. You
Yeah.
know, very few, even I, if I'm being honest, it's like, oh, you do tend to repeat the same patterns when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you're busy, if you are a high achieving person, like nothing is important if your health is not in good shape.
Yeah.
I have this conversation with Ray all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing matters, you know, like
Nothing matters.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter like if you did this or that or you accomplished this or whatever. It doesn't matter. This life comes with a lot of unforeseen stuff, right? Like you've been injured for 20 plus years. My husband will hit 20 years this October. When I married him, he was 35. Now he's 44. It looks different.
Yeah.
It looks different. It's not like, you know, to scare anyone, but it is different. Like
Yeah.
he's aging a little differently. We have children. Things are different, you know, like back in the beginning where he could be on the standing frame for 2 hours a day, every day, where he could do PT 5 times. We can't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And now we need to do it more than ever. But
Yeah.
don't let yourself get so busy and tied up in like, I need to get this done. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's like, you need to eat breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to go to pick up your Instacart groceries, right?
Yeah.
You need to drink water and put down the, you know, the iced coffee. You need
Yeah.
to like take a look, a hard look at what you're doing, you
Yeah.
know, and is that getting you closer or is it pulling you farther away from good health?
Great.
Yeah.
Fatimah, it was so great talking with you. Thank you so, so much. So much
Thank you for
wonderful
having.
information, and like what you're doing is so important and so
Thank
needed.
you.
And so thank you. And thank
Thank you
you all for
guys.
joining us.